Hello, GenRight Nation. I'm Tony Pellegrino, and this is Tech Talk. Today is September 10th, and we are here to talk about your favorite subject and mine, Jeeping, how to build them, how to drive them, everything related. It's a pleasure to have you join me today. I really appreciate everybody taking time out of their busy schedule to spend a little time here with me. And hopefully you're watching live, because that's one of my favorite aspects, that we actually get to interact back and forth by you typing in a question as a comment, and then Jennings can read those back to me. So we have a bunch of stuff to cover today, and like I said, I appreciate everybody joining us. If you're new here, Tech Talk is something that we do every Wednesday at 5 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. So this is a regular thing, and if you missed previous Tech Talks, you can always go back right here on our YouTube channel under the Live tab, and it'll show you all the Tech Talk. We've got years worth of Tech Talks that you can go back and watch, and we've got some really good ones on terminology and other things that you can really get caught up on. And of course, you don't have to wait all the time. You can just ask a question that you've got about your particular build, or just something that you're wondering about. By the way, no dumb questions. A lot of the time, there's other people watching that have the same question you do. So I find that when one person asks, there's 10 others that had the same question that just weren't willing to ask. So don't be shy. And then, of course, Jennings does a pretty good job of reading all the questions. We'll try to get to all of them depending on how much time we have. So we're always
pretty good
trying that.
What is that supposed to mean? Does someone else do it better?
Now she's all offended.
You want to fight?
Okay, the other thing is I always ask everybody to subscribe and turn on their notifications. This will make sure that you, every time we go live or we post a new video, you'll get notified of that. Okay, who we got watching so far?
Let's see. Anthony Chevalier says hello. Early bird special tonight.
Nice.
He said, anyone want to take a guess at what the big upgrade is on the TJ? My guess is cage.
A cage.
Good guess, Anthony.
That's right.
Troy Merritt says hello. Tony and Team GenRight from Nebraska. Found the weather stripping. Hopefully V2 half doors go on tomorrow.
Nice.
Hi, Troy. Bobby Cleveland says howdy, GenRight Nation from Yukon, Oklahoma. Kathy McCavis says howdy, GenRight Nation. Shane Wolford's watching, says evening, y'all. Dylan Jones says hi. Jason Berger says, hey, Tony and Jennings, it's your NorCal buddies getting to class early.
Yep, and he's been shopping for those Hest mattresses and pillows today.
Those are great.
He's been asking me a bunch of questions, yeah.
JC Cologne says hello, family. Robert Lavoie says hello from Whittier.
Nice.
Stephen Waterman says hi, GenRight crew. Hope all is well. Sean Flaherty says hey, Tony, Jennings, and GenRight Nation. Watching Tech Talk from the garage in Simpsonville, Kentucky.
Nice.
Zenland Zipline says yo. Richard Peterson says hello from cool and comfortable NorCal. G-Per Ginger says hi, Tony and Jennings. Hi, Gingy. Let's see what you got done this week.
We got a lot done.
Laura Coda says hello from Michigan.
All
Trail
right.
Hero prep time. Yay.
Yeah, big time.
Nick Repanich says hi from Paradise.
Nice.
Hi, Nick. Mark Lawrence says hello, Tony and Jennings, watching from Windsor, NorCal. Randy Hemme says hello, Tony, Jennings, and GenRight Nation from Louisiana. Rick Turner says time for Jeep school with Sensei Tony and his sidekick Jennings.
Nice.
Carlos Aravalo says hello again, second time in. Got my pen and paper ready for class. Terry says hello from St. Louis. Michael Costin says good evening, GenRight Nation from Fort Myers, Florida. Keith Basham says hello from Texas. Joe Verhel says big shout out to the GenRight fam watching from Santan Valley, Arizona.
Nice.
Derek Moeller says time to get schooled by Tony and Jennings standby. Jerome Balky says good evening, GenRight Nation. TJ says I love getting answers to the niche off-road related questions we all have. Albert Gutierrez says, hey guys. Derek Wall says, hello, GenRight Nation. Cage went in quick.
Yes.
Rick Turner says,
Yes.
hey, where'd you get that fully built cage? The GenRight TJ elves have been busy.
Yeah.
Robert Fisher, what's for dinner? Not sure.
Not sure.
David Mork says hi. Matt McDonough says I made it. Hope I didn't miss much. Sergeant Jeep says hey everyone. Hi Tommy. Ted Miranda's watching from the B&G 4x4 garage. Travers Enslow says hello. And Daniel Partita says hello while working on my Jeep.
Nice. All right.
Michael Costin asked, on the LS swaps, what mounts do you use?
Well, if we're talking about motor mounts, we make our own. They're specific for both the Elite and the Tracer. So you're going to want to look at those. And if you're thinking about doing an LS swap, you really would do yourself a favor by buying the ones from us. What we do is we offset the motor slightly to allow for the giant new front axle coming up and down. But a lot of the other people that offer motor mounts don't do that. And you should really check out our stuff. We've done this so many times. You know it's what we're running on our own vehicles. Do yourself a favor and run the same stuff we are. We know it works for sure. Okay.
Robert Fisher asked, why does the TJ cage have the smooth transitions at the top of the A-pillar and the JK has pterodactyl claws hanging out to grab on every tree branch?
Okay, so then you haven't seen the new JK V2 cage, because I like this on all my cages. This is one of those things that when you fold down the windshield frame or take off the windshield frame, I like this look. The other thing that if you're not familiar with our cages, when you do put the windshield frame up, we sell what we call a filler piece. And it's a thinner piece of aluminum than the aluminum roof, but it comes over and sits on top of the windshield frame and fills this gap that you have, so that if you do get extra wind or rain or dew or whatever, it doesn't drip in and right down on your dash. So you're always going to want to check out our filler piece in addition to our aluminum roof. So I've got a bunch of stuff to show you guys on this stuff.
Oh, Mark Warren says that cage looks short front to back. I think it needs a TJ to LJ.
Well, it does.
So what do you do when you stretch it?
Well, we got a couple choices. One is I could just pull the whole thing out and sell it, or we make a kit that if you do have a TJ, you just cut it off right here, and we sell you just the back half for $500.
You just weld it together again?
You weld it together again.
Well, that's cool.
Okay. We're way ahead of you guys.
Does it like mess with the integrity to cut it and weld it again like that?
No, because what we do is we sleeve it where it's joined, so it's actually twice as thick right there.
Oh.
So it's even better.
Interesting.
All right.
TJS, is there an option for the TJ cage that has the A-pillar tubes go through the dash?
No, this, you'd have to roll over this way. The way that we do this is this stanchion comes all the way down, and there's another plate right on the inside that comes all the way back to here. Okay? So that this whole thing ties together, and this is plenty strong. We've had plenty of guys toss their Jeeps, go over backwards. The entire Jeep was trashed. They pulled the cage out, stuck it in the next tub, and reused the cage. That's how sturdy and significant the cages are. So I'm not worried about the cage, that's for sure. All
okay.
Right. What else you got? Anything for me, or keep going?
Frost says hello from Tombstone, and Trail Team 7 says hello, it's Mike here from Rockinsaw.
Nice. Okay. Last Tech Talk, we covered a bunch of stuff that was going on around here, including we're switching the next 390 customers 392 over to our EXS. That transition happened today, and that's really progressing. That vehicle will be done pretty soon. We did talk about that we're working on a bunch of new parts. We still are. I got confirmation from King today that they're sending me over a set of shocks, 2.5s, to try on Sonic. So we'll have the Bilstein the Fox and the King to all compare and give you guys feedback on performance differences. And lastly, what we did a bunch today was get ready for Big Bear this coming weekend. So if you missed it, somehow you missed it. If you watch Tech Talk, we've talked about it every time for the last 6 months. We're going to Big Bear this weekend, and we were working on prep on some of our vehicles for getting up there. So that's the other things going on. All right. As far as
Anthony asks, can you run a back seat with that cage?
Yes. Okay. So look, there's nothing preventing you from getting in this back seat. What they're going to have to do is they're going to climb in right here. Assuming it's a kid getting in here, they're going to just get in right from the back. The seat sits way back here, and if it was easier, I would grab it and throw it in right now. But yeah, it's not a problem. So I get this question all the time. Tony, what about this X bar, right? So putting this X bar in and the harness bar, the way we're showing it right now, is the most safe, most sturdy, strongest, whatever term you want to use. This is the way a cage should be built, okay? Including the aluminum roof. All of this gives you your best chances of survival, okay? This is significant. This is all 1.75" DOM tubing, 120 wall, so 1/8 inch thick basically. And you can see there's little gussets put all over the place, the handles, the V-bar. On the TJ, we've lowered the dash bar down as low as we can get it so you have maximum visibility. You've heard me talk about that on our JK cage. So for those of you that are watching and you're like, oh, I'm not a TJ guy, don't worry. We make them for the CJ, the YJ, the TJ, the LJ, the JK, and the JL. So we make cages for everything. Every single one is laser notched, meaning all of these, how the two tubes fit together, are laser notched and puzzled. So everything actually clicks in. You can't put it together wrong. You can't put it together backwards. You can't put this side on that side. It goes together one way, and with 3 ratchet straps, you can put this whole thing together, and it'll automatically square up. And I can tell you, we had this whole cage tacked in, including, by the way, removing the interior, and tacked in 4 hours. Okay, so some of you may be looking at this tan thing here. This is what's called a welding blanket. Can they see that? Mm-hmm. Okay, so a welding blanket is going to protect the windshield glass, the dash, and other things inside the Jeep, right? So we did remove the carpet. The only thing you can still see is a little bit of the center console. That's a bigger job to remove that, and we didn't really need to. So what we do is we just pull the blanket over when we're welding in that area.
What color is the cage going to be?
Haven't decided yet. It'll go to powder coat probably tomorrow or the next day. So, but by the time you guys see this next, it'll be done. Seats will be back in, everything. And while the cage is getting powder coated, right around the corner from us, we've got a guy that does rhino lining, so I'm just gonna have the interior rhino lined and then forget carpet and all that stuff. I like to keep it simple, make it easy. I can hose it out, whatever. I'm over trying to deal with carpet and stuff. I leave that to my JL that has a top on it all the time.
A couple off-topic things.
Sure.
Mark Lawrence asks, are you sporting a new design Tech Talk shirt?
No, this is the same. I just have them in different colors. I've got the gray, the dark blue, and something else.
Black.
Maybe a darker gray or black, yeah. So, yeah.
Michael Costin asks, have you ever wheeled any lava rock fields? I've driven through pretty much all of them on highways in the rig, and I've wondered if people wheel in them.
I mean, I've definitely driven through lava rock.
We did in Bali.
We did in Bali.
In a Suzuki.
I mean, there's lava sections out at the Hammers. I've done lava out in Parker, Arizona. I've definitely hit my share of lava, but even in
rough.
Texas and stuff, it's really hard on tires. Really hard on tires. So.
Jerome said, "Can't wait to see what you guys come up with for a JT cage."
Cool.
Ted Miranda asked, "Do I have to reprogram the computer or anything like that on a 16 JK 3.5-inch lift and 37-inch tires with 513 gearing?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or it's going to be
Get one
really
of those flash cow things.
confused. Yeah.
That'll fix it all
Yeah.
up.
Yeah. Or Taser Mini or
Yeah.
something. Yeah. Yeah. And you can adjust for the gears and the tire size. Now, what you did by doing the gears and the tire size, you're actually pretty close to back to stock. So you might be faking it out a little bit, but you'd be better off. The shift points, the speedometer, all that stuff will be more accurate if you do the Pro Cow or the Taser Mini.
And Trail Team 7 asked, if you go from TJ to LJ, can you go to a fastback style if you're not running back seats?
You can. And that is the only condition that I want somebody to run a fastback. And the fastback basically means from the B pillar, can you see this pretty good?
Yeah.
It'll go down like so. So it kind of cuts off this. But this is, for your rear passengers, this is the head protection zone. So if you run a fastback, their heads will be sticking out. Do not put passengers back there if you run a fastback. Okay? You are endangering their lives, to say the least.
Rick Turner says, I have the Armor Light in my TJ. Does anyone have the TJ cage with the Armor Light flooring installed? Does that fit together?
Well, what you do is just trim the Armor Light around where all the mounts are and everything. It's, the cage mounts in the stock locations, except for up here. This is an additional mount in the front. Can you come over this way? Let me grab my... So can they see in here? Mm-hmm. Kinda. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a stock mounting point right there. And I'll go back here, this way back here. Can you see this? This is a stock mounting point. And by the way, this little bracket right here, this will get welded on when we take the cage out.
Wait, point to it?
This guy, I'm lighting it up right now.
It looks like too bright.
Right here. Too bright?
Yeah, hold the light back. Yeah.
Okay, this is the factory seat belt mount that gets put on, and then the bung is already up here in the cage for the seat belt, and the same in the front. So I just wanted everybody to know we always put the factory seat belts back in, and you can run the harnesses, okay? So we will make this C-pillar bar right here, this will be removable. And if you missed out on the last show, what we do is we've got a tube coupler that's a machined, I've got them right here. It's a machined piece that is very precision machined, and this is very, very strong. This will get welded in back here. So what we'll do is we weld this tube in, and then we cut it. Are you coming around?
Yeah.
Yeah? Then I'll talk on this side. Okay, so the C-pillar tube, we weld this in just as it is, okay? Then to make it removable, we hold something like this up here, and we cut it right here. We'll stick that inside, weld it around, right? And then we'll trim this bar and weld it on this side. So we'll put one of these on each side, and then that will make this tube removable. And what's cool is when you take the bar out, it's only going to stick out to right here. So it's really, your door opens here and it's pushed way back here. So it's a nice way to do it so that you can still have all the access if you're loading something bigger or whatever. But I recommend putting this bar in. Even my son Jamie didn't do it on the Growler, and he regrets it because this bar, you put in all these bars, and it's like building a buggy. You've strengthened. So if you take an impact on the corner, the cage is now supporting it. It's not just sheet metal. You've got a tubular structure supporting this whole thing, so and protecting you. So pretty nice. All right.
They say I should get a drone to follow you around.
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Just fly it inside.
So, all right. So then, I told you guys initial 4 hours to get it tacked in. They spent the next day getting the rest of it done. Now the cage will come out and we'll weld. There's a few spots we can't get to when the cage is in here. We'll finish welding those and then it'll go to powder coat. So all in all, by the time you're totally done and deburred, you're looking at 2 days tops. All right, and that's every option, including the aluminum roof. So this is everything we do here. Very, very nice product. And like I said, we offer it for all the Jeep models. So, a cage, you guys have heard me say this before, is something that you want to do sooner rather than later. A lot of people wait till the end of their build to do the cage. Really, you want to do it sooner. Most people, when they start Jeeping, are very inexperienced and actually closer to rolling it over or having some catastrophe than they are even later in. But, that it's also coupled with your Jeep gets more capable, so you start trying harder things. And which means the risk factor goes up, all the more reason to have a cage in there to protect you and your family and friends. So, really nice. Now, like we just talked about, eventually this Jeep will get turned into an LJ. So I can either hack this cage up or take it out and sell it and build another one. So there's lots of options. Obviously, we still haven't put on the bumpers. I only did this because the transmission is over at the transmission shop getting rebuilt, and we had a little bit of extra time. So I just said, hey, let's knock out the cage and get this done. And like I mentioned just a minute ago, now that the interior is gutted, I'm going to get this thing around the corner and get the interior rhino lined. So.
Michael asked, do you prefer the cages TIG welded or is MIG sufficient?
MIG.
And then
so MIG is sufficient because
Target Outdoors says, does it have to be MIG welded or can we use stick 613 or 2018s?
Depends on how good of an arc welder you are, but no. Okay, so let's clarify this. The laser cut and notched cage is clean enough to be TIG welded. Okay, TIG welding is a very, very tedious, time-consuming process, and it's great for thin wall tubing. Okay, this is not thin wall tubing, so MIG welding is perfect here, and it's fast.
613 or 7018.
Yeah, so those are fine. Obviously, you may not get as clean of a look, but those will stick it together for sure. Okay.
Trail Team 7 asks, can you run the rugged radio from the center bars overhead in the TJ cage?
So you got a couple of things. So first off, the roof is aluminum, right? So what you have to do is, which is fine, you'd have to drill a hole, which is what I did in Terremoto, and then I mount the antenna through the roof. That is a wonderful ground plane, right? You've got the best, and I can talk to our home base out at the Hammers that's 25 miles away. So yeah, it's a great way to do it. You can also weld a tab on, and have one in the corner. We've done all kinds, and by the way, we sell, if you haven't been over to the DIY section on our website, you're doing yourself a disservice. We sell so many tabs and gussets that, and clamps even, but you could totally weld a tab on here, have a whip antenna, a flag, your rugged radio. So we've got lots of stuff to help you guys get that stuff mounted. So
Joe Alice says, LJ Legend 7-inch stretch 14-inch coilovers for rear upper shock mount before cutting into the frame. How do you decide where to put it? Up, down, forward, back?
Okay. Well, sorry to say, it doesn't sound like you got the instructions. So I'll give you the Reader's Digest version. So when you look at the control arm, assuming that you have my long arm suspension, Legend, right? The control arm is going to be mounted up here, and it's going to come back to the axle. The shocks mount behind the axle, and they're 90 degrees from the control arm at ride height. Okay, that's how you determine it. Okay, and then the height of the tower depends on the height of that you want your vehicle at. Okay, so those are all important things.
Okay.
Right.
Mark Lawrence asked, when you pull the cage, how does the A-pillar come out if it's tied in below the door?
So that's a bolt-in piece. Let's see. I'm going to go, you stay go as close as you can right there. Can you see right here?
Huh?
Can you zoom in across? You're shooting like right here.
No.
No?
Nope.
Can't quite see it?
Nope.
Okay, how about over there? How about this?
Oh dear.
Yeah.
No, don't do it.
You sure?
Can you just
Okay.
pick it up?
Yeah.
There you go.
This setup is not
Oh god.
conducive here. Okay. So I'm going to go to the other side and pull back the welding blanket, and you're looking right here. Can you see this now? Can you see this? Over here? Do you see the plate
Yes.
on the inside?
Yes.
Okay, so the plate, can you see this transition right here where the bolts are?
No.
No? Hang on. This is an important piece. I'm going to...
Tires there.
Okay, here.
And the blanket. You took the blanket off.
Hang on. I'm going to do this even better. I'm going to move the Jeep forward. There we go. Now you got plenty of room to get in. In fact, come right here. This is the spot. There you go. She's making her way around. See where my light is? That's what I'm trying to show everybody. Can you zoom in right through that hole? That's it. Okay. So, for Mark and the others.
Mark, pay attention.
Okay, this plate right here is the plate that I was talking about that goes in and backs up against the rocker. This right here is the A-pillar coming down, and all of this bolts together, and there's 2 additional bolts that go in through the floor. One of them ties into the rocker guard. So you've got the side rockers and the bottom of the rocker all tied in. So a massive amount of contact with the frame. And a lot of this is double.
Can I buy just that plate for my existing cage?
I suppose we don't make extras, but if you call in and sweet talk the guys, we could probably pull that off. But yeah, if you don't have this, the only other option if you don't have this is to weld a plate on the bottom here and do our cage to frame tie-in up here in the front, which is a kit that we already sell. Okay, so there's that. All right, I'm going to come back around the back. You can just stay right there. We'll just talk about the cage from here.
Camera acrobatics is right.
Yeah. Well, it's this is the best opportunity to show you guys because everything's out, right? Once the interior goes back in, those get painted black. You'll never, even if you knew what to look for, they'd be almost impossible to see. So, yeah. What else you got?
That's it for now.
That's it. Okay. So we talked about MIG welding, TIG welding.
Ted says he'll buy that cage when you're done with it.
Okay. It won't be long, I can tell you that. Let's see. So we talked about drilling a hole and running the radio up through there. So one thing that's very important to think about, I was just showing you. Can you come back over here? So can they see this? Oh boy. Can you shoot right back through one of these 2 sides? Can you see what I'm holding?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yep.
Okay, this is the wire harness that runs to the rear of the vehicle. So inside this is the power for the fuel pump. Inside this is the brake lights, your seatbelt stuff. There's a ton of power stuff inside here, okay? So, one, when you drill through your rockers, you want to keep that out of the way and don't harm the wires. The reason I'm pointing this out to you right now is when you run your radio antenna up to the roof, you do it from that side of the vehicle, okay? You want all of your radio antenna wires separate from any power in the vehicle. So, your radio will be mounted here. You'll run the antenna wire down there, up the V-bar and over, and then out the roof. Okay, those are super important. They never tell you this stuff. I'm telling you, if you want your radio to work, that's how you do it.
Cool cage. Okay?
It is a really cool cage.
Cool angle here.
Yeah. Yeah, you're getting to see it all, right?
Yeah, it looks cool.
Yeah, look at that.
Look, whoa.
So, yeah, the aluminum roof. And, by the way, there's tabs already welded on. You can see them, like right here.
It's kind of like Star Tours.
See the tabs right there? Can you zoom way in?
Yeah.
There's tabs all over. Everywhere you see a bolt up here is how it's bolted on. And those tabs have what we call a clip nut. So to take this roof off, you literally just go around the outside. You don't have to hold anything on the inside. And it's very easy to get the whole roof off. And depending on the type of top you have, some soft tops will go over the top of this. Other ones require taking it off. And certainly, if you have a hard top, it requires taking off the aluminum roof.
Do you actually level out the Jeep before tacking the cage together?
Yes. Or
just to
how
it sits on a level surface?
In my instructions, it says put your Jeep on jack stands. I want the frame on jack stands. I'm not talking about the axles. You want the tub solid and level. Okay, these are super important aspects, because even something as simple as you opening the tailgate, like if you still have the tire on here, it'll make the whole tub sag over to the passenger side. The last thing you want to do is build your cage where the tub was twisted, and you go to put it back in, and now you got to duplicate that, and then when you close the door, the whole thing's going to be twisted all the time. So you have to be very careful. When you take out the factory cage, and I don't care whether you got a CJ, YJ, TJ, JK, JL, these tubs are super flexy. So when you put something like this in, you are strengthening the entire thing. So, you're taking what was a wet noodle and turning it into, next best thing to a buggy. So.
TJ says, I have a cage that is modified off the stock cage with 1.75 tube going through the dash. I'm looking to tie it in and make it safe without starting from scratch. Money's tight.
Sure. Okay, so we do offer a cage to frame. So, where your tube comes down, we've got some urethane bushings that tie from the bottom of the cage over to the frame. It's a little universal kit. You can find it on our website. It's just type in cage to frame or frame, in the search box, and it'll pull it up. Or you can search by product. We do offer the pieces to make a B pillar tie-in, and we already offer the kit for the rear C pillar tie-in as well. So lots of options there. And if you can't find that stuff, just call in, talk to one of my guys. They're happy to help you out. Okay.
Bobby Cleveland asks, what hood is on Terremoto? I need more airflow on Rockhound.
Yeah, it's the True Fiber fiberglass hood. True Fiber is the brand that makes it. You can type that in and it'll come up. I think they still make it, but that's got a hood scoop and vents, like louvered vents to let heat out. So.
Brad asks, sorry to go off topic, but do you have LS mounts for a CJ?
I do not. Man, if you're going to put a V8 in a CJ, you've got so much frame reinforcement to do, and you really have your work cut out for you, because the CJ frame is so narrow that you're going to have nowhere for the exhaust to get by the drive shaft. Like, honestly, unless you're way down that road, man, I'd start with a different platform. I'd move over to a YJ or get a YJ frame for your CJ. There's a lot of options. Okay.
Dan says, nice work, Tony. Can't wait to see this TJ.
Yeah. In fact, we were talking about how it's going to be pretty much drivable by Trail Hero. So I talked about bringing it out to Trail Hero, but I'm taking the motor home and hauling my enclosed trailer with Terramoto in it. And I think Jennings is bringing her Jeep. So I don't know how we'd get it out there. But yeah, this thing, the tranny's going to be back. The Raceline wheels showed up. Ooh. I got some lights from Vision X. We got a bunch of the parts are starting to show up. The tires are on their way from Mickey Thompson. So yeah, lots of good stuff.
Anthony asked, can you still lock down a soft top with the top A-pillar crossbar?
Can you still lock it? Yes. Yeah, so here, let me show you something. This is what I was talking about with the filler piece. Come back up front. Okay, so if I push the windshield, wait, no, don't go too far. You're going to look in right here. Look in through here, okay? So when I put the windshield back up, do you see this space that's here right now?
Yeah.
That's a ton of space to lock everything down. That's why I was mentioning the filler piece to go in here. This mirror's kind of getting jacked. There you go. That's how it should look. So, and I want to show you something else while you're there, because I had these sitting over here on the bench. This is the bracket that we have that mounts on both sides. Can you see this bracket? Mm-hmm. And it goes like this. And this is how you actually tie the windshield to the frame, or to the cage, right, with this bracket. And it's adjustable, so you can pull this back and get it just where you want it so it fits your top really nice. And then if you put the windshield down or take it off, you can take away the bracket and it gives you that super clean cage look. Okay, but yeah, basically the windshield frame does not come all the way to this brow bar. We call this a brow bar. There's a gap here for you to operate the lever for the top, and that's where we make the filler piece that goes in there to keep anything from falling down right there on your dash.
Laura said, I wish I'd put my cage in before I tweeted my tub.
Right. That's yeah, I hope everybody's listening loud and clear, because that's the kind of comment that I hear all the time, that people wish they did their cage sooner. I know it's a lot of money. You can do it yourself. We have a lot of people that put these in themselves. Maybe their welds don't look as nice as ours, but you know what? It's still
make your first rollover cheaper.
Yeah, and it even a not as pretty MIG weld is going to hold these tubes together and give you more safety, and or support the tub. So there's a lot of good things.
Naomi asked, what wheels are you going to run on the TJ shakedown run?
What wheels?
Yeah. Tires, wheels.
This, yeah, what it's got right now.
Ah.
They're 33-inch little BFGs.
Bam.
Yep. Yeah. So, one of the things that I talked about with my guys was, the factory cage is a glorified Toys R Us swing set. It's very thin wall. Just to give you an idea, I could easily lift it out, and I threw it out on the curb by myself, right? It's super lightweight. And I was talking about how I wasn't really going to feel safe wheeling with that thing. And, this cage, even with all the options, is only 299 pounds. So when you think about how much safety you've added to this vehicle, man, you can't even compare. You really can't even compare.
Let's see. Terry asked, 18 JKU. Is the stock power steering pump okay to use with your PSC spec steering box with hydro assist. It's on 40s, 3 to 5 times a year off-road with 40s, mainly on-road.
No. If you're running 40s, you need the whole PSC kit with the big box. So you want a new pump. Keep in mind your pump's 10 years old, okay? So get a new pump. It's already tired. It's not high enough volume and high enough pressure. When you buy the aftermarket pump, it's going to be twice what you have right now. So,
well, it's 7 years old.
Yeah.
18.
Oh, 18? Okay.
Yeah.
But still, I mean, if the guy's on 40s, that thing's begging for mercy, okay? Like, that's a lot. Even a 37-inch tire is asking that stock stuff to do a big job. So
Rick Turner asked, did you find Mickey Thompson 37x17 Class Cs?
No, I didn't. I ended up having to get D-rated. Yeah, you're right.
Oh.
Yep.
Zenlin Zipline says, off topic, TJ SD Dana 60 going in the front off of a 2017 F250. The axle came with the steering gearbox and linkage from the truck. Advantages, disadvantages of using it instead of the stock gearbox?
Well, I'm pretty sure the way that the gearbox mounted on the, 1-ton truck that it came out of is going to be completely different than what you have. The other thing would be, I doubt that the drag link would work. The frame is different width. So when you go to connect that to the steering box, I don't even know that it'll be right. You got to make a track bar for it. Don't use any of that stock stuff. It's junk anyways. So.
Target Outdoors asks, does the rear view mirror still work when the windshield is up?
On the sides? Is that?
Rear view mirror.
This one.
Yeah.
I mean, they're all rear view. Or
the main rear view mirror.
Does it still work when the windshield's up?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So, couple different things. So, one is because I like my rearview mirror, whether my windshield's up or down. On Jennings Jeep and on Terremoto, I welded a nut right here. And what that allows me to do is move the mirror back here. And then whether the windshield up or down, the mirror's always there.
I like that too.
And by the way, there's like Scosche and Axia, several companies make a panoramic mirror that actually clamps around the tubes. So depending on what kind of a mirror you want, you've got a bunch of mirror options. So, okay.
Brian asked, do you guys know if there's a bikini top out there that fits your YJ roll cage? I got the spiderweb shade that fits it, but would rather have a solid top. Love the cage, by the way.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure the original best top or Smitty built, bikini tops, keep in mind the cage width, this way is exactly the same as it was, because we have to make it fit under the hard top. So any of that stuff that normally fit, like a bikini top, should still fit on our cage as well. You might have to get creative when it comes time to like tie it down back here. And, on the stock cage, it went way down. Maybe you have to do it to here or here. But it's totally possible. I've done it on every single one of my cages that I've owned and had, all the different tops on them and stuff. So they're definitely possible. And by the way, if you're used to just running 2 people in the front, get yourself one of those wind jammers, and that'll keep the air from swirling around, and it'll keep you cool, with air conditioning or hot with heater, depending on what you guys are doing. So, okay.
Budget TJ Part 3 video?
Yeah. Is this? Yeah, it's coming.
Okay.
So, it might be out tomorrow, actually.
Stephen R., are you putting 15 or 17-inch wheels on the TJ?
Well, originally I was just going to do a 1535, but now that we got those JL 392 axles, I'm going to go with the 17 and 37s.
Okay. Michael Costin says, on the JL Stage 1, you brought up last week that the axle side shock mounts get moved up.
Yeah.
Do the tops get moved up as well, or did I misunderstand what you were saying altogether?
Well, the tops, the JL rear suspension is completely different than what you have on there now. There's no track bar, okay? So you throw that away. You don't want that anyways. You're going to be double triangulated, so the upper links will go to the center on top of the differential. You'll get a bridge to do that. If you go look at the JK Stage 1, it's the same, where how we hook it to the top of the rear axle. And basically, you know, this is, can you zoom over here? You don't have to move, you can just zoom in. But this is what I'm talking about. Because these are JL axles, right? And whether it's a JL or a JK, they have this crap hanging down, which I hate. Now, you guys got to understand, you know, a factory Jeep, they're trying to achieve a certain amount of separation out here at the axle. And, you know, your factory upper link mounts are way out here. These are going to be moving all the way to the center. So, and these are going to come off. Like we're doing a lot of really cool stuff that is going to completely change. You're going to get rid of this big old track bar mount, this nasty thing. And I don't know if you noticed right now, but and sometimes you can't tell because it's just what you're used to. But this rear track bar, you know, really as the suspension goes up and down, it's making the rear go back and forth. When you have a double triangulated, it's moving on center, super smooth, and that's going to make a huge difference. Then we eliminate one link on the front, so you have a 3-link, which makes that bind free as well. So, you know, really, once you start talking about a GenRight suspension, it's head and shoulders, you know, above anything else out there on the market. We know what we're doing. We've been doing this for 20 years. We've raced all these suspensions, whether it was the Legend, the Tracer, the Elite. You know, we've got all the R&D. I personally drive these things. I make sure that they perform the way that they're supposed to. And my standard for performance is super, super high. Anybody that works here will tell you, you know, Tony doesn't just accept it, man. I want it perfect. And that's, you know, I'm sure if you're spending your hard-earned money, you want it good too. So I don't blame you.
Someone says square tube frame with Elite brackets for JKU ever?
Yes. So basically EXS for the JK. That's in the realm of what we want to do, yes. Because the JK frames are aging out, right? If you've got one, it's rusty, whatever. You know, that'll give you a chance to get something new, you know. And everything's done on it. So now you just swap everything over and you're good to go. It takes a lot of the work out.
Okay, we're caught up.
All right. Well, let's head back. I just walked over here to talk about that. So let's see. I'll put the windshield frame back down. By the way, your windshield frame, I don't know if you've ever had it up or down or off. It is not light. You know, this thing's a good, I don't know, 100, 150 pounds. It's heavy. And when we go somewhere that is really...
Can you turn off that light?
Technical wheeling, what happens is we pull the windshield frames off because it's weight that's up high and it sticks out from here. And if you notice, all of our cages are perfectly smooth. So there's nothing that hangs out. So when you're going by a tree or a rock or any trail obstacle, you'll be able to actually, if you have to, drag yourself by it. And there's a ton of thought and function that has gone into this stuff. Even this, look at where the handle's mounted. If I put my hand here, then this, to me, this is like basic stuff that I don't see anybody else do. My hand is inside the cage. So whether it's me or my passenger, I'm not going to smash it on a rock. Okay? These are, I'm telling you, it's all the little details. This is if you're thinking about GenRight, if you've already bought GenRight, man, you've leaped yourself ahead of everybody, because you're getting the good stuff and you don't even realize what the bad stuff is. So, all right.
Rick Turner says, don't forget your tank access panel. That's a lifesaver on the trail.
Yeah, in fact, somebody called me today who's out on a big trip and said, Tony, I want to thank you for that tank access panel. I had to use it today and it worked perfectly. I had to change the whole fuel pump module, and he's like, that would have been a nightmare had I not had that. So I'm glad to hear that. And by the way, you know why I designed that? Because I wanted one, right? If you've ever had to do that, it sucks. So, why not make it so that it's easy? And I built it in a way, I don't know if you've ever checked one out, that it's, when you take the lid off, it's smooth on the inside so it doesn't cut your arms. It's thick so it reinforces the floor. So when you do put something heavy back in the back of your Jeep, the floor's not all flexy and basically a wet noodle. It's got the beef and the strength that you still need back there. So.
Zenlin Zipline says, are you doing a double triangulated on this build, and is it worth the extra effort as compared to just triangulated uppers?
So,
I'm still
okay.
deciding. I have all the brackets and links to go either way.
Okay, this build is going to cover a whole bunch of steps, right? Because what I'm really trying to do is show everybody how you can do it on a budget. Now some of the parts I've bought brand new, like the wheels, the tires, that stuff. But honestly, you can get that stuff for 50, 25 cents on the dollar if you're willing to pick up a used set, okay? Same with axles, same with, the center console, same with a lot of stuff, right? In fact, we have people every day, by the way, that are taking their TJ and turning it into an LJ, and you know what they're doing? They're selling their cage. So you should be looking, you should be scouring for these people that are selling their corner guards, their cages, their rockers, all this stuff. You could pick this stuff up dirt cheap. In fact, they'd probably thank you if you came and got it, right? Just to get it out of their way so they can continue on their build. All right, that said, I'm going to more directly answer this question. So we're going to take this thing out with whatever lift kit, combobulation is on this thing, and do our baseline run. Okay, all I'm waiting for is the transmission. We only did the cage because I had time to kill, and I just need to keep clicking away on this. The next step will be to put the axles in, at which time we will put our first generation suspension on. I will not be putting on a double triangulated because this thing is still a stock wheelbase. Even if I stretch it, I can only get this thing to 100 inches. For 100 inches, on this tub length, really a single triangulation is still going to be the best bet for this. When you go to double triangulation, there is zero resistance. It's like riding on a motorcycle, right? Like when you go side to side, you can go. And the Jeep will act the same way when you do that double triangulated rear end. So for a lot of people, that's too much, the way that it feels when they're driving. So typically, we don't do the double triangulation until we go longer, even longer. And, now don't get me wrong, double triangulation is the best. Now, the reason we do double triangulation from the start on a JK or JL is that they're longer. They start at 116 and go to 118 inches. Well, once you're that long, you don't see that effect. You don't feel that effect in the vehicle when you're driving because it's so much longer. Hopefully all that makes sense. I know I'm covering a lot here. It's the double triangulation is the best, no doubt about it. Okay, so there's just some choices or some things that you have to consider to make sure that you're not overlooking for what you're doing with the vehicle. Okay, so that said, if you call in and talk to my guys, they're probably going to say, well, if you're like 50-50, 50% street, 50% dirt, we'll do single triangulation. If you say, no way this is a dedicated trail rig, then you could probably do double triangulated, okay? But it's going to take a little bit of getting used to driving it and doing that stuff, but the performance is the best, okay? I know it was kind of a long answer.
Kathy McCavis, just curious, can you touch up the powder coating when it gets scratched up?
You can. Some, depending on who you have powder coat your vehicle, they can give you touch-up paint that matches your powder coat. For anybody that asks me that question, I recommend you rattle can it. Okay, so like the rockers, I rattle can them. Because you know what you're going to do? You're going to scratch the daylights out of these things. Whether it's stepping on them or rubbing them up against stuff, just rattle can this stuff because you're going to be repainting it all the time. Now, if Terremoto was in here and you looked at the cage, there's scratches all over it. And I've done my best to touch it up because it is powder coated. That, remember, we built that vehicle as a SEMA show vehicle, you know, way back 2012. So, you know, but if this is a trail rig for you and you're worried about touching things up, rattle can it. Okay. What else you got?
BB Tom said that's a nice looking cage.
It is, thanks.
Several people said the access tank panel saved a fortune in labor when they had fuel pump issues.
Yes.
Yes. Patrick said at Sand Hollow it paid for itself the first time.
There you go. Yeah, it's really handy, and I don't know that a lot of you know this, but both Jamie and I, so Jamie's got the Growler, I've got Terremoto, we both run the Aeromotive dual Phantom pump. Now that's not just, you know, word trickery to sound cool. It means there's actually two fuel pumps, and they call them, that's their brand, the Phantom. You know, the parent company is Aeromotive, but those are their Phantom pumps down in the tank, in the module. So now Jamie has his setup where he just has one wired, right? That's triggered by the ECU, and if it fails, he just pops the little cover, moves the wires over, second pump's going, he's good to go. Mine is pre-wired. So I've got a little bit more advanced system in Terremoto, and it senses the fuel pressure. And if it sees the pressure drop, it automatically fires the other fuel pump. So me as a driver, I don't even know that there was an issue, except the light comes on the dash that says, hey, you might want to check the fuel pump. Okay. So down the road, when you're replacing your factory fuel pump module, you can go with an upgraded one that actually has two. Or, you know, if you're clever, you're handy, creative, you could stick a second fuel pump down in there and already have one ready to go. Okay? So typically, when we do the dual Phantom, what we do is those come out and go through two different filters. Because if something gets clogged, you know, in the pump itself or in the filter, when the second one kicks on, you want it to be through a brand new filter, you know, going up to the motor. So, and again, I don't know how much wheeling you're doing. These are the kinds of things we think about. Our race experience has taught us this stuff that, you know, I don't want to be down. We don't take these Jeeps to Cars and Coffee. When we take them out, man, we're railing. We're going across the desert. Last guy back to camp buys the beer, and you do not want to be the last guy back. So there you go. Or you eat a lot of dust. All right. What else you got?
Caught up, and it's 6 o'clock.
What?
I
Okay,
know.
well, I still got more stuff.
Okay.
So don't go anywhere.
Okay.
Okay. For those of you that missed it last week, Jennings and I have our own YouTube channel called Chasing Sunset Jeep. Okay. And we've got some cool short videos that we do when we're out on different Jeep trips. You know, some are rock crawling, some are pre-running, some are overlanding, some are on the Harley. Yeah, like we do all kinds of stuff. I think you'd get a kick out of it. Go over, check it out. Subscribe when you get over there. We're trying to boost our subscribers. So this is a shameless plug for our channel. But check that out. And then lastly, I want to talk about the events. Okay, this weekend we've got Big Bear coming up. You can sign up for that over on our website. The next event that I don't have on my schedule, but Josh from Trails Off-Road pointed out to me, is called the Desert Run. It's put on by the Morongo Search and Rescue crew. It is a poker run. It's one day out at the Hammers on October 4th.
Oh, that's fun.
That's fun. But we're going to be out at Trail Hero.
Oh.
So we're at Trail Hero from the end of September all the way through the 5th of October. So GenRight's going to have a booth there at Trail Hero. We'll be doing rides. We're going to be doing all kinds of cool stuff. If you want to sign up for a ride in one of our vehicles, get a hold of my guys or come see us once you're there. We are also leading our own trail runs. So you do have to be built to a certain level, but we're welcoming a lot of people to come. And I think every day we're doing something tougher as the week goes on. So reach out to Jeff on our sales desk and he can give you more information on that. The next thing I have on the calendar, November 14th and 15th, is the Corva /X Bash. /X is where High Desert Roundup is hosted. So it's a popular off-roader, cafe, restaurant, bar, cool place, kind of a off-roader's destination. Corva, land use, good stuff. They're hosting that November 14th and 15th. Then right after that, the next weekend, we're doing our turkey run out at the Hammers. So you're going to want to join us for that. And then lastly, our Christmas Parade of Lights. That's always a popular thing here in Simi Valley. So beyond that, if you're happy with our products, please go over to our website and write a review. And remember to like and share all of our stuff. Help us get the word out. And till next Wednesday, have a good one.